Hello and welcome to episode 252 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The West Brom. I'm joking. No, I did that last week. The Wolf 77 Club. Tell you what, socials been popping off, haven't they, for everyone, I think, the last few days. Yeah, the Wolf 77 Club, Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter. We're also on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're also on YouTube. So please
Dan
subscribe.
Bayliss is here.
Hello.
And Jack Williams.
Hi, everybody.
Well, how are we all feeling, gents? Because this feeling doesn't happen too often, as we were very much reminded in the build-up to this game. Well, Jack, I'm going to start with you because we'll have a quick quiz. True or false, it was a great idea to go for a curry and beers on Saturday night.
That was a bad idea, Sam. I agree. Yes. I thought that if we were careful and only started drinking about 4 p.m, that it wouldn't be that bad the next morning. But it turns out I was wrong when I was being sick in the kitchen sink, waiting for the taxi to pick me up at 7:30. I went out to the game in the same clothes I had on the night before, which I'd also slept in.
I didn't realise that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I look classy. I look classy.
Oh, wow. Incredible. Now, you were starting, I think you started off in Stourbridge. Was it Stourbridge, Wetherspoons? I think that was the first port of call.
Yeah, so got there at just after 8 o'clock, I think, when it opened. And fair play to the people who reached out to say I was wrong last week when I said it started serving at 9 o'clock. It's actually 8 o'clock, because that's was really helpful information. So we got there just after, and there was already a massive queue at the bar. So wow. I think basically what had happened is the poor people who've been put on the Sunday morning shift, which is usually completely dead, there was basically 2 members of staff running the whole thing. And by the time it reached about 9:15, I don't think there was a spare table in the place. So it was a brutal one if you were working there on the bar, but all good. Open early for beer, easy to get into the ground, and just top it up from the night before. Personally, to be honest, I started off on the shandy, actually, because I was rough when I got there. To be honest, I was trying very hard not to be sick in that taxi up there from Starport, and started off on the shandy and finished off with 2 Jager bombs. So,
Harry, I think you've moved on to the JD and Coke pretty quickly. Around it must have been 10, half 10. Another poor decision.
Really bad idea, yeah. Really bad idea. It was a bit. I mean, I think we were just all trying to get over the nerves a bit, wasn't we? All week I was all right, and then when it got to like Saturday, all of a sudden I was really nervous. Can't imagine what it's like for Jack being there, but the build up and that, and then the way I'm going to go on to it, but the way the game started as well, that didn't help the nerves. But yeah, it helped being a bit worse aware watching it at times, because although it's been a long time. I know the COVID one, like I've said before, it was still gutting that they beat us to that one at Molineux, but when it's a crowd and that, it just feels like there's a lot more to it. And yeah, the nerves are always there for this fixture. I don't know what it is. It's a bitter rivalry, and they don't ever get any easier.
Danny, it was a pretty textbook morning for us, wasn't it, really? Bacon and sausage sandwiches or whatever it was in the morning, and gearing up in that way. But Harry's right. The closer and closer it got to kick off, we were all saying to each other, weren't we? We were like, oh my God, this is starting to feel a little bit more real now. And it's nice to have that feeling back, because we haven't had it realistically for 12 years. And it's I don't think we count the COVID one.
Yeah, I think now we can look back on it with a smug grin on our face. It was a really enjoyable sort of day, but that sort of hour pre-kickoff, it did feel like a proper game. It was great, right? There was an atmosphere. You could feel it. The pundits, no matter how much they tried to talk about Jurgen Klopp, actually did talk about the game and what it meant to people, and it meant a lot to us. And we were in a little pub in a small town, and it was packed. So it was absolutely brilliant. It's exactly what you're a football fan for. That's why you watch bad games, you watch yourselves lose. These highs are what it's all about, and it was brilliant. I don't think the grin has gone from my face since. Or the hangover. Sorry, unless you're from my HR department, that went at precisely 9 a.m. on Monday morning.
The man is a machine, I must say. So I don't know how he does it. Jack, the first goal, pretty much came out of nowhere. I think the video that was doing the rounds was from the West Brom fans and going, "Oh, it'll be absolute limbs if we score from this corner." They take the shittest corner I think I've seen for a very, very long time, and that's coming from me, a Wolves fan. Hit them on the break. Matt Doherty sublime ball through to Neto, and then we have like a mini sort of Neves Derby County moment where lots of the Albion fans go "Oi" because they think he's fucked it up, and then he obviously puts it past the keeper.
Yeah, I think we thought that he fucked it up as well, to be honest, from because obviously that Neto goal was at the opposite end to where the Wolves fans are. It's a great interception by Doherty, as you say, and then before you know it, we're away, and we think, oh yeah, we're in here, and then they get a foot in, but they don't clear it properly, and before they know it, Neto does really, really well, because I thought in real time that took a deflection. That's what's wrong for the keeper, but obviously watching it back now, he just smacks it back where he came from. And just completely caught everybody off guard, really. And yeah, that little way was priceless, really. It's one of those funny things. But to be honest, I was a little bit worried, particularly after the first 15, 20 minutes when we're giving away free headers to them in the bloody 8 yards away from the goal and these sorts of things. I did turn to my friend at one point and say, "Are we going to lose it?" Because they seem to be the ones who were a bit more on it than we were, and we didn't create an awful lot, but I think we did have, particularly as the game went on, we had those moments of quality, really. But when that first goal went in, it was obviously just carnage, and I was just trying very hard to not fall down a massive load of steps because I was stood on the aisle, to be honest. You know what it's like. And the next day, you look at your knees, and you're like, oh, why I've got all these marks on my knees? It's because you've been pushing against the seat in front of you, and people have been rolling everywhere. So it's exactly what you'd expect, really. And the atmosphere was interesting, but let's say before the game and everything, it was there was a lot of it was lively, should we say, even before it all actually properly kicked off in the second half. But when that goal goes in, it's just euphoria, really, particularly when we've not been at our best for the up until the point of the goal, really. I don't think we were anything but convincing.
I disagree.
Much relief more than anything else, I think, from my point of view.
It is a bit of relief when we scored the goal, but I think Wolves did a professional job on them. The Albion were always going to come at us, right? Underdogs, team from the lower side, playing at home in front of a rowdy crowd of their own. They were always going to come at us, and I thought we took the pressure well. The free header is a bit of a bad one, and Wallace, wasn't it? Should have done it a bit better, but other than that, I thought we just contained them. And as it went on, you thought Wolves are going to do them on the breaks. They're going to run out of steam, and it's exactly what happened. I thought they were pretty toothless, to be honest. Like, if that's a team that's, what are they, somewhere down there in the sort of playoff area, they ain't going to do anything. They were bang average, absolutely bang average. Take the club badges away from the game, they're shite.
Do you think, Harry, the Albion fans just from start to finish didn't really get hold of the occasion? I mean, they booed Craig Dawson every time he touched the ball. He was with them for, was it 8 years? Was with them when
10.
They got relegated, and just all of that, and then the booing starts, and obviously then it became a little bit more ill-tempered, and then poured into something after Cunha's goal.
Yeah, I actually want to ask Jack something, which I envied, which I really wanted to experience, was the liquidator. Jack, what was that like?
So, as soon as actually, the one thing I will say is credit to West Brom, and I think a lot of Wolves fans would agree with this, that their pre-match music was really, really good. Like, the playlist was properly getting everybody in the mood, and they played some absolute indie bangers and everything. So it was a good listen in that few minutes before the game started. And then as soon as that first bit of the liquidator goes, they get excited because they want to sing what they want to sing. We get excited because we're going to sing it back at them. And it must have been incredible just to stand in the middle of the pitch and listen to it, because everyone was just going for it, really. And everyone gets really excited and passionate then. It's always the same, like with derby games. And even in the first half, you spend probably as much time watching the crowd as you do actually watching the game, because everyone's just going for each other, really. Let's be honest. It starts to simmer a little bit, and then as you know, eventually it balled over, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the pre-game and everything, the atmosphere was great. The little train ride in we got from Stourbridge Junction up to the Hawthornes, mostly Wolves on there, and like every time an Albion fan tried to get on, there was just booing, and like people not letting them on the train. It was, it's one of them, really. So it's quite funny. But I didn't see any actual trouble or any fighting or anything before the game or anything like that. It was all fairly okay. Massive police presence, though, obviously, but it all started fine, really.
Harry, we were just shown, I think, a masterclass from the Netos and the Cunhas of the world. Obviously, both of those getting the goal. I think more people have maybe talked about Cunha's celebration as they have the actual goal itself, because I think he managed to ruffle so many feathers of those Hawthornes birds, just by saying we own this place.
Yeah, brilliant. And also Neto's celebration when he did the ears and like he was just looking at him. And I thought Tommy Doyle on the day as well. Like when we scored that goal, he was looking at the Albion fans like smiling. And obviously that bit when they were throwing bottles at him, he like turned around and pointed at his badge. I've agreed with what a lot of people have been saying, that we didn't really get out of first gear. Like I said, first 25, 30 minutes, I was very worried. Although Albion, they had a few tame headers, they did look the more likely. But when that counter-attack goal happened, it just settled all the nerves. And I thought one player I've got to pick out as well. Like obviously, Tommy Doyle, Cunha, Neto, all decent on the day. But Max Kilman, for me, had a shout for man of the match. He was an absolute rock at the back, led by example. I've criticised him a lot for not really being that leader. And I think with a lot of pressure that Dawson had on him, it kind of was Kilman's time to stand out. And he did that one tackle he made. It was absolutely incredible. I think it was second half. It was crucial. And yeah, he was brilliant at the back. And Tommy Doyle again. And it was funny in the pub when we were watching it though, because we was all praising him for his passing. But he hadn't made one pass wrong, and then he messed a few up, didn't he? Yeah. As we were saying it. But yeah, incredible like game to win in it. Like we were the better team. Like someone's put in the comments, not one of their players would get into our team at all, and we're a much better team than them. And I stick by what I said on the post-match video I did on my channel. I don't like their kit. I don't like their sponsor, and it just showed on the day that their fan base is absolutely horrible. So yeah. And the hatred's just reignited now, isn't it? We probably won't play him for another 10 years, but yeah, horrible club. I'm just glad we got in there and beat them, because they've had so many days where they've had the last laugh, and God, do they let you know about it as well? I mean, yeah, so they deserve one, don't they? And they can't take it. They cannot handle it. That's why they tried to get the match abandoned. That's why they tried to get it abandoned by kicking off.
Let's talk about the trouble in the game, which sort of overshadowed it for some people, and for some people it was like, this is amazing. This is what the derby is all about. I think for me, I don't like to see it, but sometimes I think the passion, because this derby always seems to get left out. And I think when the round was drawn, and Jack made the point, I think on either the podcast before last or the one before that, when they were saying, Wrexham have got Blackburn or whatever it is, here are the big ties, and the Black Country Derby wasn't on it. And you just looking at the passion and the noise and the aggression, and you think this is up there with it. I think it's bigger than an Old Firm derby. I think it's obviously more aggressive than Merseyside derby. And I think it's all down to the fact that we just don't play each other that much.
It's one of the world's oldest derbies.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I walked into the office today where there's a few lads that are all football fans. And the Spurs fan down here said to me, first thing he said to me was, you went, fucking hell, I didn't realise it was like that. And I was like, yeah, it's a proper derby. I was telling you last week. And they're all sort of like, yeah, whatever. Thing is, in all fairness, it does sound like the trouble stemmed from the being a Wolves fan or two in the wrong end.
But a Wolves fan is just.
But from what I've seen and read in the last 24, 48 hours, whatever it is, there was a Wolves fan or two in the wrong end. They celebrated the goal. Few people said something. The stewards went up to grab him and kick him out. And then the bloke that looked like a scarecrow that ended up on the pitch, like fucking something right out the gutter. Something right out the gutter, wasn't he? Jesus, right, sewer rat of the greatest order.
He kicked him.
Look at him. Yeah, so he kicks the guy down the stairs and then just runs on the pitch. And then for some reason the stewards are taking out the Wolves fan. Job done, and all the Albion fans kick off, and then a load from the Birmingham Road end start getting involved. And then for some reason it kicks off near the Wolves fans for no other reason.
Do you want me to give my account of what happened? Because I witnessed it first.
You remember what happened?
I remember what happened. It was the most fun 35 minutes I think I've ever had while at a football ground, not watching any football. It was brilliant. So there was a few moments where it started to boil over a little bit, and I think the one was when Tommy Doyle was taking a corner. I don't know how much you could see of this on the TV. He was getting pelted by everything. Yeah. So there was coffee mugs, there was bottles, there was coins, there was lighters, there was like it was constant. The ref should have like put a stop to that straight away, but he was just like, "No, just take the corner, mate. What's wrong with you?" And there's literally a coffee cup bounced off his head. So the ref didn't had a chance to nip it in the bud then, and I don't think did very well in the circumstances. The other one was the one where Cunha gets taken out by their number 5. What's his name?
Bartley. Yeah.
That's another moment where it started to kick off a little bit because obviously, he led with the elbow and it was a bit bad. And then obviously the third thing was the fact we scored again, which they did not like very much, really, particularly, and also with the celebrations. And then I think what happens is, obviously, yeah, there's Wolves fans or whatever in that one corner, and they obviously can't contain themselves. Like we said, it'd be a very hard thing to do anyway because they've got some balls even doing it in the first place because it would be difficult. And it's all kicked off over there, and very many people have got involved. And I think then what's happened is some of the police who are mainly focused on the complete opposite corner, which is the corner where the Wolves fans and Albion fans are closest, have got drawn away to deal with all that trouble down there. And at that point, left too few people in between the gap where it's most likely to kick off. So you've got this situation where there's something kicked off in the family enclosure in one end, and then a few minutes later, in the exact opposite corner, it's kicking off in there as well. And the police took a long time to come in with all the riot gear and stuff. I don't think they were properly prepared for it kicking off like that, particularly with the game being so early. And so it kicks off. They've lost control of it. The stewards don't know what's going on. People have pushed forward into the stands in both areas. There's people like pushing to get onto the pitch. Before you know it, there's just loads of peasants running on the pitch, like Wurzel Gummidge and that lady who's trying to make the.
They just signed her, Jack. So, she started next week.
but there was a few more as well. And the thing was, they weren't stopping people going to the pitch, particularly if they were just walking on. They were just like, what's going on? They weren't noticing these people straight away who were like invading the pitch. And then the police come in and try and tone it down. And there's stuff constantly flying like missiles between the two sets of fans in that one corner. The players are going into the stand to get their kids out or whatever. It was just great entertainment, really, from my point of view, because I was there.
Yeah. I'll ask Jack. So the Albion fans, right? Obviously, they're giving it the away end was quiet. The Wolves fans shouldn't have been the Albion home end. My counter to that being, why on earth have Albion done what they did, giving season tickets at +1? That's why a load of Wolves fans managed to get in the home end. So, exactly. The Wolves fans shouldn't celebrate. But what I want to say as well, Jack, is the away end, you were in there. No Wolves fans ran on that pitch or caused any trouble, really, did they? So you've got to think it's only going to be West Brom that are going to get fined off the back of all of this, surely.
Well, you'd think so. I mean, they didn't control their fans. And I thought the days of season ticket holders being able to buy an extra ticket were just long gone because you don't know where those tickets end up. And that's exactly what's been proven in this situation. But, the Wolves fans were giving it on. They were jumping on the segregation bits and stuff and these sorts of things, like properly winding them up. But I don't think at any point they crossed the line into the field of play or anything. No. Basically what happened is we went 2-0 up. They used to beating us. And they just had a massive tantrum live on ITV1. And that's all, the only way you can describe it, really, honestly. So, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
God. I think the Guardian on their YouTube channel put all the footage of like when the bit in that corner happened and all them people on the Brummie Road and ran over to that guy who was getting took out. And the top comment, or the most like comment at the top, where it said, "Someone must have dropped £1 in the corner." They're all rushing to try and get it. But that 40 blokes running over to one Wolves fan. It's like, come on.
I don't know if you saw the bloke who was in the other corner though, but like, I honestly, I've never seen that much blood on a person in my life because he was they'd obviously detained him and he'd had a few hits to the head.
But he looked like he had a red, the Avengers.
Looked like he had a red balaclava on. I was like, looked a bit closer. I was like, bloody hell, that's blood. Like that guy, he's been done, isn't he?
He was an Albion fan, wasn't he? I think.
He was an Albion fan. He got hit on the head by a police baton, apparently. Yeah, he was like fighting with the police and hit him on the head. There's a lot of the West Brom fans saying that was a Wolves fan. Like, it was all them, really. Well, I'm not. Look, Wolves fans. Did you see that lad who was wearing the white Stone Island top? Then he was like filming himself singing,
"Yeah,
fuck off, West Brom, we're Wolves." It took him to the 80th minute to like start throwing him out, didn't it? And he was singing Wolves songs throughout the game. To be fair, so yeah, for a start, to be a Wolves fan and go in that Albion end and sing and cheer a goal like that, you've got to have a set of bollocks on you for a start.
Yeah.
Don't obviously condone it, but wow. But he got slapped about a bit, didn't he? He was getting punched on the way out and that. But the main one obviously was the other bloke who was down by the players' wives and all that and kids, which is bad to see him taking the kids out of the crowd and that. But they shouldn't have reacted like that. They should have let the stewards take the fans out. But it's a bitter derby, in it. So if it was but Molineux and an Albion fan was in the South Bank, bloody hell, he wouldn't be getting out that easy, would he? Let's be honest, it'd be the same sort of thing. So it's one of them things.
This is the thing we were saying just about it going under the radar as well, because you see all these like posts off bloody either Twitter children or foreign fans. Oh, what's the best derby? And it's like, oh, it's the North London derby. Like, it's not. It's full of tourists now, isn't it? It's full of tourists, and I haven't seen anything like that happen in any of these big name derbies. Probably since going way back when to the 70s and 80s sort of thing. So the fact that happened and it happened on TV, I know it's kind of like in a bad way, has put it on the map a little bit, I think. But it's right. We knew what it was like, didn't we? Because we've all experienced it, and it's only really like these big six football fans or anything. He would say, it's not as feisty as some of the the Man United, Liverpools, or the Arsenal, Tottenhams, or whatever else they make up.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think we've all got to say categorically we didn't condone anything that happened in that part of the day, but that shows the passions and how it can overspill in football, and that it needs to be better managed. It was a bit bad how the police sort of dealt with it. Maybe it was the Albion stewards. Maybe they weren't selling their tickets very well. But I thought the Wolves fans didn't do anything particularly wrong. They let off a few flares, which I don't think you're allowed to do that, are you?
But you can't do that, yeah. That's fine.
That's part of the game.
Yeah.
The limbs when we scored the second one.
Oh, the limbs.
I've watched that back.
I don't know if you saw the bit that I can't remember which it was. I think it was the first goal. They didn't just light it; they just threw it straight into that away end of the corner.
But it was just that I think the Wolves fans were just laughing at the Albion fans and having a laugh, having a joke, and because obviously we've been on the other side of it so many times, and obviously they go back to the studio, and you can just see people like shirts off around the head and stuff, and then presenters sort of saying that the police are getting everyone in order and hopefully restart the game, and then obviously Roy Keane goes, "It's their job," which they got there eventually, but yeah, it prolonged the day a little bit. Can we also talk just a little bit about? Do that one. I've got a point afterwards. If there's VAR in this game, do you lads think that Bartley decking Cunha might have been more than a yellow?
Maybe, but just off the back of that, I thought Dawson was brilliant, by the way, when he ran up to Bartley after that. And that's the Albion fan. Keep replaying that clip as well, going, "Oh, look what Bartley did to their star." And then Cunha went and scored the second about 5-10 minutes later. But just on that, how refreshing was the game without VAR, by the way? Don't you think it was much better to watch? You had no worries in the back of your head.
Do you think there might have been a shout? Do you think there might have been a shout for Cunha's goal being offside? Because
he was on.
It's hard to tell, but okay, it's one of those where it might have been borderline. But okay, that's
his toenail might have been off, but the still we saw after the goal went in, he was on.
It was good without VAR, to be honest, because in a game like that as well, it's so important just being able to celebrate, because the last thing you want is to celebrate, set off your flares, throw them at the other fans, and then it gets disallowed. That would put a real dampener.
Jack, did you see what Cunha was doing at the time when he was pointing at the badge and saying, "This is ours" and all that? Or did you not see that?
I still don't understand what he was doing. I thought he was doing something about a helicopter, but that
makes sense. He was giving it the "We own the Black Country" message, wasn't he? This is ours.
Yeah.
This is actually what I was getting onto. That's what I was getting onto. It is that O'Neill has clearly said something to the players in the week. He must have shown them us losing games and showing the fans and stuff, saying, "This is the one you win, lads."
Well, the Neto celebration was in response to, remember they beat us 3-2 and one of their players did it? That's why Neto did that. That was a bit of homage to that. So brilliant. Gary O'Neill as well. I seen the clip of him at the end, going up to the away end, doing the fist pump. Yeah. Brilliant. That's out of character for him, really, isn't it? So he was getting carried away as well, which we like to see.
Yeah, I think anywhere out, probably inside actually the Wolves social media and Twitter sphere for the club. You can see how important it is, and even the pre-match build-up would have sort of said exactly the same as well. Right, okay. We'll leave the Black Country Derby win and move on to actually who we've got in Brighton at home in the next round.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a path to Wembley, Bayliss?
At time of recording, they're 3-0 down to Luton.
So
Got the FA
that
Cup,
takes
though.
the podcast very quickly. There is a path. It was a damn difficult draw. Brighton have got to be up there as one of the sort of best of the rest that could go a long way in the competition. But they have been a bit hit and miss recently. And we could have shithoused a win at their place, where I've only ever seen us win there once, I think. So
We're at home.
Yeah, maybe their edge has come off a little bit recently, especially being 3-0 down to Luton. So there is a path there. There is a path. I'd love a bit of an easier quarterfinal, but
They've also got they're still in Europe, aren't they? So when around that time they'll have a European fixtures on, which is got to be good for us. And I fancy us against most teams at Molineux at the moment. So that's another really big factor for me. And if we win that, you never know. We might get heartbroken again at Wembley.
Just looking at the comments here, and I'm just being reminded about all the other characters who sort of force their way onto the pitch, and you just got to say, like, they can't call us dingles anymore. When you see the state of them, that's like, oh my god, man, they need to all go and have a bath.
Although, did you see? Which I thought was hilarious. Did you see that clip of that Wolves fan with the eye patch on going mad?
Yeah.
Zoomed in on it.
My favourite was the one that was tapping the Premier League badge. I think that was
some of the shots for the game. Obviously, we met them
Very
dazzling days with the carrier bag and all that. There's so many shots for the game. Brilliant.
So, I agree with the path to Wembley thing. I think all we could ask for really was a home draw, and it could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot better. We could have got a team of lower league opposition. Maidstone would have been brilliant for both them and for us. But you can only ask for a home draw, particularly when there's no replays now. It's decided on the night, isn't it? So that's got to be an advantage. So,
in terms of the so-called big sides that are still in it, I mean, arguably you'd say Villa and Chelsea, one of those going through would be big. Liverpool, Man United, and Man City, and that's about it. You know, Newcastle with their problems and their injuries, and you look at it. Actually, I think get Brighton out of the way, and that draw really does open up, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. I shouldn't be, but I am confident we're going to get past Brighton. I was confident we'd get past Albion until the day before. But you've got to believe in us at the moment, haven't you? I think Jack said it the other week. The way we're playing at the moment, you've got to fancy us, especially at home. And and the way some of our players are playing, like I mentioned, Kilman, Doyle, is Gomez going to walk back in to come? I know we're going to get onto the games coming up, but we're playing really well at the moment. And Gary O'Neill, he's got the players to get that connection with the fans, and beating your bitter rivals in the FA Cup is only going to help the spirit around the place and with the fans and that as well, isn't it? So a cup run could happen, especially if we stay mid-table.
So that's losing to Villa in the final then. Excellent. Could you imagine? Next up, though, is Premier League action. Jack, Manchester United at home. I think it feels like a little bit of unfinished business from the first game of the season, where the first of the various VAR debacles this season kicked off with Onana on that occasion against Kalajic. This time round, what do you reckon is going to be the starting 11?
Oh, bloody hell. This game, I don't know, you usually get really excited when you've got a Man United game coming up, don't you? Particularly at home, but it's just been overshadowed by everything that's happened the last few days. So the two games we've got now, which that Brighton game, I said last week, was the start of a very difficult run for us, I think, in the league. So Brighton and then Man United and Chelsea 3 days apart is tough, isn't it, on paper? Yep. The one thing I will say is I thought we looked a lot better when Aït-Nouri came on the other day. Which is unsurprising. Aït-Nouri is been one of our best players this season, so I wouldn't tinker too much. Gomez will be available, won't he? The only thing you might think is, will he be fresh? I don't think anyone in the midfield, Doyle doesn't deserve to be dropped or anything, but we've got 3 games in the space of a week, basically. So while players are injured or away still, so. I think there could be some rotation coming on. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did have to change a little bit and Gomez started, but hopefully I think Aït-Nouri deserves to start too.
What do you reckon, Bayliss? Shore it up a bit. Obviously, Gomez to come back in, but like we say, Tommy Dawes done absolutely nothing to suggest that he should not keep his place.
I mean, yeah, there is a quick run of fixtures, so there's going to have to be some changes. What he decides to do, it'll be on all the sports scientists, I guess, saying who's more knackered than the others. But one of them will have to have a rest at some point. Doherty didn't do a lot wrong, and he got forward well.
I mean,
it was him that read
one
the
assist.
interception for the first goal. So, he's sort of vying for a starting spot again. So they're good problems to have, right? There's nothing wrong with having these problems. So pick any of them.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously Bayliss, Aït-Nouri came on for Bellegarde, didn't he? He didn't come on for Doherty on the day. So I thought Bellegarde had a decent game as well against Albion. That he nearly scored that one, didn't he? When he put it just wide. So, but I do agree, because we've got Man U Thursday and then it's Chelsea Sunday really quick. We might see Gomez just for that reason, because it was a bit of a tough game when it's Sunday physically, maybe on some of the players. But it'd be very harsh to drop Tommy Doyle. But we might see Gomez against Chelsea, maybe. And obviously Bellegarde might rotate out Aït-Nouri, might start with Doherty as well. He might do what he did in the second half against Albion, but that's what Gary O'Neill's paid to do. It's anyone's guess, to be honest. I'll be surprised if he's the exact same team. I
think if you're O'Neill, you'll target the home game against Man United, given their inconsistent form.
No Rashford.
It's at Molineux where it's at Molineux where we're a strong team. That's the one to target, and then you assess it Friday morning and pick as best team you can to go to Chelsea, sort of thing.
I mean, it's a good thing that I think the team selection for Albion set the tone, really, because I think everyone must have been happy with that on paper, really. So, it shows that we are taking that competition seriously, and they knew how big it was, because how depressed we would have been if we'd have seen, 6 changes or something and a few of the fringe players starting. It would have been really disheartening. And, the price we have to pay for that now is the fact that we've got a difficult run of fixtures coming up in quick succession, where we're probably going to have to rotate a little bit. But, it's fine. Honestly, the way we're playing, I'd be shocked if we lose these next 2. I think we'll get something from one of them. So, even with the quick turnaround.
Chelsea's probably going to be tough. But...
Well, we don't get anything at Stamford Bridge ever, do we, really?
I've seen a draw there, 1-1. Yeah, Rouse scored. I went Rouse scored.
2-2, Cody, wasn't it? Was it under Bruno Lage right at the end? Yeah. We were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
Trincao and Cody, yeah. That was. Chelsea was tough. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, we've been there and got results. Only draws, but we've got a couple of results there. Bloody Hazard scored in the last kick of the game for them to equalise.
We got the Jimenez one, the one where Jimenez scored the first season. That was 1-1, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we have the one recently, the 2-2.
Yeah, the 2-2. But we were playing for nothing then, was we? But they're a different team now, aren't they? They're obviously going through a lot of transition. But Man United, as you mentioned, bloody hell, they've got this Rashford stuff going on with him clubbing in Belfast and all that, and disciplinary issues. And I mean, is it Newport they played? They scored 2 against them. So if Newport can, you'd fancy us to get a few goals against them. But yeah, it'd be interesting. And hopefully we can get 3 points there.
Bailey's gives score prediction.
I think we're going to nick it. I think we're going to nick it 1-0.
Interesting. Jack?
Just because we ain't lost in a while, I think we're probably going to lose at this point. But let's say hopefully close. I'm going to go 2-1 Man United.
Harry?
I'll go the opposite to that. Thursday night's a bit of a weird fixture in it, but hopefully we're on a bit of a high, and I think we'll beat them 2-1.
2-1. Excellent. Dan has your betting news.
Only a couple, because there's a lot of games in quick succession, and that's all I've had time to get. 1-0 Wolves.
Can I just say I was gutted? I was Netto 2-1. Unbelievable. I was.
Did you not have 2-0 in the bets last week, Payless? Netto 2-0, or did I make that up? Was it Netto 2-1?
It was Netto 2-1. There's only about 12 quid in my betting account, so I definitely didn't have it.
Right. I thought you said it for some reason, but it must be 2-1. So, yeah, you won the day.
we got really drunk, and I forgot that I had it. I've got 1-0, Pedro Neto to get the goal, 50-1. Then 2-1 Wolves, Cunha to get the first goal, 40-1. Now, along that side shot, we could do what we did to Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. 3-0 Wolves, Craig Dawson to score the first one, 350-1. The odds aren't great because there's a lot of games in quick succession and there's no promos and stuff, but that's all I can roll off.
Nice. I like that. If one of those came in. Let's move on finally to transfers. And it looks like Mario Lemina's brother, Noah's joined. I think it's a loan with an option to buy, Harry. Looks like a fairly exciting young prospect coming through at PSG.
Yeah, we spoke about him, didn't we, when it was first rumoured? But the latest I heard before Fabrizio tweeted it today, which pretty much confirms it, doesn't it, when he does it. But I've seen Liam Keane said that they couldn't get a visa for him. They were really struggling to get a visa because he'd only played one time for, it wasn't PSG, was it? It was someone else he was on loan to. But they must have sorted all that out and he'll be coming in. I think Jack said earlier, didn't he? He'll probably be in the under 23s or whatever for us. And then, yeah, but it'll keep Mario happy, won't it? Have a familiar face around the plate.
Yep.
And let's hope he's got the potential to, if not get in the team, which you'd hope he will, maybe a bit of a profit on him eventually. That's what Fosun like, isn't it? So it'd be interesting to see how his career goes.
There's some videos of him knocking around social media I've seen. It's either him looking really skillful and beating a few players, or it's like Mike Bassett, where it's actually the keeper. But
It's the goalkeeper.
He looked pretty handy. He can beat a man.
Yeah, he looks like a tricky winger. I think that's probably the way you describe him. You thought you'd probably go straight into the 23s, Jack?
I mean, I think so, just because of the fact he has such a low amount of first team experience. I think it was a club in Italy that he was on loan at. That someone in the comments will know. Yeah, and he's made a handful of appearances. So I'd be shocked if he's thrown into the first team picture immediately. But, saying that, our bench is a bit light at the moment, isn't it? So, there could feasibly be a place on that at some point in the not too distant future. But I don't know the plan of him because he's just, apart from the name Lamina, he's just unknown, isn't he, really, in terms of his footballing ability. And just because he's his brother doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be as good a player as him. But, they're taking that risk and he's obviously still young. So lots of time to progress.
Senior game of football for Sampdoria.
There we go. So that doesn't scream Premier League starter for Wolves, does it really? But who knows?
Future star.
Broha from Chelsea seems to be the one that's doing the rounds and then not doing the rounds. Harry, Wolves wanted, by looks of things, a straight loan. Chelsea probably panicking about FFP and thinking we need to get some cash for our players, even though we put them on 8-year deals. Didn't seem like a good idea at the time, but you need to bring some success if that time frame is going to work. Otherwise, you're just going to get hammered every single year for about 5 years on FFP if you don't get something back through the door.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are pushing, as you mentioned. We want just a loan. They're pushing for like a big fee, like obligation to buy in the summer, aren't they? It'd have been good to get someone like him, but I think now with that falling through, I don't think we're going to see a striker coming, are we? I don't think we are. It's Thursday, isn't it? The deadline this Thursday coming up. So after United, that's it. So Fraser, step up, my boy, if we need you. But yeah, that's a shame about Roger. But there we go. We can't be splashing about ridiculous amounts of money, can we? We've got to be careful.
No, and I think, having, as we have done it over the last few seasons and the Guedezes of the world, and you just think, actually, I think I'd rather give the kids a go. And we're doing okay without them. So
yeah, but you're thinking back to the Bruno Lage missed opportunity of Europe, aren't you? And I think if we don't at least strengthen the squad a bit now, we're not going to get that. I know it's a long shot anyway. I'm a realist, but any hope we've got of that, I think will sort of be peter out pretty quickly if we don't bring in any reinforcements apart from a player potentially who's going to be in the under 23s. Just having Hwang back at a unknown date in the future is not a new signing. We've just done well to get through the period, without these players, and include Traore and Ait-Nouri in that. So it's one of those where if they do want to play like that, then fair enough. But then we should be taking the cup a lot more seriously, because
I think it's the easiest way into European
routine.
competitions. 100%. Yeah, I think
James Key, sorry. The PSG striker, I forget his name now. That was rumoured. He reckons we're close to getting him.
Neymar.
Don't know who that is. Yeah, Neymar. No, was it Etika?
Yeah, young lad.
Yeah, another young one. So maybe he'll come in. But 4 days to go. I mean, Fabrizio.
Nothing's happened though, has it? Nothing's happened. Not just Wolves. What's happened in this transfer window that's not of note?
Johnny. Oh, we haven't mentioned that. We haven't mentioned Johnny, have we? Last pod we did, he hadn't actually left yet. His contract's been terminated, isn't it? Or mutually terminated, was it?
Where's he gone to? Has he gone somewhere already?
Greece on a free, apparently.
Greece, it was Greece.
He definitely left Wolves, obviously. It's the official account put out that, which bit of a sad ending for Johnny, isn't it? But with his injuries and that, we all knew it was coming. But yeah, sad ending.
He was a great servant to the club, and obviously some great times under him. And before those 2 ACLs, he was an incredible left back, and as a left wing back, playing that sort of football that we hadn't seen before. He was a joy to watch. So yeah, it's sad to see him go, but it's another one now, isn't it, of that picture where it's only actually Doherty left, is it?
Yeah,
I
it will
think-
be. Yeah.
Well,
It's a shame that like Johnny's last memorable performance people remember him for was that Leeds loss, the 4-2, when he had an
Oh, yeah,
absolute
when he
shot.
actually-
but he
Scored a great
scored,
goal.
did he?
Yeah,
Like,
great
banger.
goal. But he was at fault for like two of the 4 Leeds goals when he got pulled off. He was that bad. But I did actually watch him this season. He played against Blackpool in the League Cup at Molineux. Obviously, it's Blackpool. But then I think did he play against Ipswich as well in the round after? I can't remember now.
Can't
Very
remember.
Good question. Good question.
But
We were
yeah, he
crap
was
in that
never
game,
getting in.
though.
He was never. But it's nice to have his wages off the bill, innit? Because that'll help us with
He's
FFP.
probably on a good
But
whack.
Big whack. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine there was a couple of quid going out of the door every week for him. In terms of Asian Cup, it is Australia versus South Korea. Hwang's South Korea, Friday, 2nd of February, 3:30 kickoff. So we may have him back for after the Chelsea game. You never know. See what the Socceroos can do. Send him home early. But obviously, best of luck to him. Oh, sorry, Jack. I thought you were going to say something. It looked like you were poised.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Nothing
I
to
mean,
add.
I don't. I think I'd fancy South Korea in that, but saying that, I haven't watched any of this tournament, so I don't know who's playing well or anything. But yeah, we'll see.
Can I just mention? We've got to mention it on Thursday for Stuart, who passed away. Chris has got in touch, didn't he, to ask us to put out a
Yes.
tweet on the socials. 41st minutes applause for him. I think he was only 42 years of age. South Bank season ticket holder.
Yeah.
Stuart Worley. Suddenly died over Christmas. So Chris, who sits near us in the North Bank, knew him well. So the family have asked for like a minute's applause. He's gone around a lot of the Wolves socials now, so hopefully that happens for him, because tragic, obviously. So hopefully that can be done.
Yeah, 41st minute. Excellent. Right. Well, go and check out some videos on Twitter. I know there's plenty that I haven't seen yet. And absolutely soak in those West Bromwich Albion tears, everybody, and enjoy it. We earned it, and it was fantastic. I will say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yes, goodbye.
Dan Bayliss.
Soaked in Albion tears. Goodbye.
And Jack Williams.
Hurrah, everybody.
And it is a goodbye from me. Goodbye.